Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, cha, bonjour, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jed Lee. Welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the beautiful, wonderful, sunny neighborhood of Reedville, located in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so very honored and absolutely delighted you are joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in our mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can listen to us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Amazon Music, Podcast Addict, Audible, CastBox, Player FM. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. We have a really great family show for you today. Dr. Schafer Stedron is here to celebrate The Boy and His Brightly Colored Blocks. It's a wonderful picture book, and Dr. Shafer shares some great insight into raising wonderful kids. And later on in the show, we are going to be taking a listen back to our conversation with Dr. Schafer's kid, Amalie Anastasia. Before we invite our guest into the studio, I would love to invite you to visit a very special website. It's clownswithoutborders.org. Clownswithoutborders.org. This is a group that I absolutely adore. I am part of Clowns Without Borders, and I had the honor of being part of the 2023 tour of El Salvador. I had so much fun joining with artists from all over the world to bring a smile to people who really needed it and really appreciated it too. And we would love for you to join us as a monthly Joy Maker. Joy Makers, they're a family of people just like you who love to laugh and make other people feel good. So please take a moment and visit clownswithoutborders.org and consider joining me as a Joy Maker. Join us right now to celebrate her brand new picture book. It's called The Boy and His Brightly Colored Blocks. Please welcome Dr. Schafer Stedron. Hey, Dr. Shafer, how are you?
Oh, Jed, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's such an honor to be here and talk about The Boy and His Brightly Colored Blocks with you.
I'm delighted to have you on. Not too long ago, your daughter beat you to Reading with Your Kids. Remind us the name of her book and her name, please.
Amalie Anastasia Kershak. She actually has 3 books. She has Foxtails 2, and Wolf Tales. So she is a prolific author, and she's also a philanthropist. And she's actually writing her 4th book, Shelter Dogs, right now. So I have a lot of catching up to do. It's true.
I remember that she was donating proceeds from Foxtails to an animal conservancy.
Yes, she donates Foxtails. She donates to her school in our hometown. And Foxtails 2 and Wolf Tales, she's fundraising for a wildlife preserve. And her idea behind the wildlife preserve is a little bit unique compared to what we sometimes think of. It's a place where humans can't go. It's a place where it's only for animals. And so she is currently fundraising for them. She also raised $9,000 for our local humane society or shelter here in Harbor Springs, which is close by to Petoskey where we live. She did that last year. So she is definitely using her talents and her focus to try to help animals in the wild and also in shelters.
That's wonderful. We literally live across the street from a wildlife sanctuary, one that we can visit. I'm glad. And currently we have a turkey living in our backyard. We decided to name her Stella. So we see Stella every morning and every night. My beautiful wife was telling me that when she came home, she saw Stella walking down the middle of the street like she owned it. And so it's I'm really happy about what your daughter is doing, because we need more places where animals can be safe and thrive, and we need more kids who are thinking about others.
Exactly. And Amalie, the thing that I'm really proud about, the most proud, isn't that she wrote 3 books and she's working on the 4th. It's that behind everything she does is a mission, and it all boils down to how can I encourage other people to do what I'm doing? How can I encourage people to fundraise? How can I encourage kids to write and share their voices? Because when I do this, it makes me feel so good. It gives me this really positive power and control in a world that, especially for kids, can feel like they have no control. They have no power to make a positive difference. And she took her experiences and she turned it into helping other kids by having a podcast like yours, right? Having her own podcast. She was so inspired by the world of podcasting and of children's literature. So she started her own, and in that she encourages other kids. So
awesome. That's fantastic. So I got it. We're going to celebrate the boy in his brightly colored block. Do it that justice. But the one, I know there are people out there going, great, this kid is amazing. How do I get my kid to do the same thing? So what's the secret? Because you're the parent. You were there when this amazing young person was growing up, and you had a big influence on her. How can we inspire our kids to follow in your daughter's footsteps?
Yeah, and I think honestly, this book, I'm holding it up, so The Boy and His Brightly Colored Blocks is a great introduction to doing that. This is a book that I've really written more for the 2 to 6 year olds with regards to delivering the message for the first time, but I can tell you that the 7 until 12-year-old age group really love it because they remember what it felt like to be a kid that age and what it felt like to be so out of control, and how amazing it feels when you have a choice and when you're empowered as a kid. And so a part of my vision and my passion is trying to help people from all age groups to really lean into their power and to their autonomy, feel empowered to make choices and make positive ones. And so I think sharing children's literature, as you do on your podcast, choosing to read to your children books that have really positive messages that are very empowering for children, is really the first step. And I can tell you, we read all sorts of books when my daughter was young, and I won't name names, but you start to read books as a parent and you think, I'm not sure this book that I was read 100 times as a kid is the message I want to send. I'm going to put that over here. And I wonder if there's some maybe more modern messaging out there. And that's the really exciting thing about children's literature for me, is it gives you bite-sized, digestible introduction to really important concepts, not only for our children, but often us as parents when we're reading the books. We kind of think, this is being presented in a way that it's making me stop and think. And maybe I'm going to adjust my parenting or my mindset because of that. And so I do think that her being so exposed to so much literature as a child was very inspiring for her. And when we got really serious about self-empowerment, she was a kid who often did doubt and question herself. And when I got really intentional about leaning into why that was and empowering her, one of the first things that she wanted to do was write a story. And so we sat down, and it took a few weeks, but she wrote foxtails during her homeschooling sessions with me. And she felt so empowered. And I can't even tell you when she had the first book in her hands. She got it. It was on her birthday week. I can't remember. It might have been the day before her birthday, which is right after Christmas. And I had just gotten the book, and she was at a ski lesson. And I was just so excited to give it to her that I'm all in my ski garb. I'm coming from home to pick her up, and I'm parading this book in front of all of her friends. Like, oh my gosh, we got the book. We were so excited. And that was born out of me as a parent allowing her to tell me how she wanted to express herself, taking the time to be present for that expression, and then saying, wow, this is really amazing. Let's share this message. And that was so empowering for her that it snowballed. And it snowballed into What's Up Young Authors, which is her podcast, because she did her first TV interview. And she came off the stage. And I remember I love telling this story, and I don't always get the opportunity to, so I'm gonna borrow your ears for a minute because it's one of my favorite stories. So I had taken her to her first TV interview to talk about Foxtails and Foxtails 2, which was just coming out. And I was prepared to go on set with her, but at the last moment she looked at me and she said, "Mom, you know what? I want to do it myself." And she just turned 10. She was a little kid. She'd never done this before. And I said, "Okay, I'm right here if you need me, but I know you can do this." And she went on that set and she did absolutely phenomenally. She walks off set after her. It was about a 4.5-minute interview. And she walks up to me and she looks at me. And the first thing she says is, "Mom, that was amazing. When can I do that again?" So for me, I said, well, we live in northern Michigan. We live kind of in wooded areas, right? We don't have a lot of TV stations that we can go to regularly. But I said, well, Mom has a podcast. And she said, well, you have a podcast. I want a podcast too. And so out of that, What's Up Young Authors was born. And her vision for that was not to showcase her work, but to give other kids the same opportunity that she had had to share her voice, because it was so impactful and empowering for her. And so that was born, and I produce What's Up Young Authors. So that is a big part of what we do to share this message of empowerment and sharing our stories so that we can really take ownership of our lives and build the future we want. I think kids are often, we see a lot of ads, we engage with a lot of media and movies and things, and we have this idea of what our lives should look like. But when we read and when we discuss, what did you think about that book? What would you have done differently, right? When we read those books where you kind of choose your story, it opens up a different mindset for kids of, I get to choose what my life looks like. There is no manual. I have a say. And so for me, a big part of what I do with my publishing house, Little House of Dreams Publishing, is to, through helping children publish their work, try to encourage that message.
Well, that's fantastic. And, you reminded me something that we've talked about a lot here on Reading with Your Kids, is how important it is that we help our kids become media literate. And understand that everything that they're watching, everything that they're consuming was made by somebody and it was intentional. They made it because they want you to buy something, they want you to do something, or they want you to think in a certain way. And when we start with that and we help our kids understand that and to ask questions, and I think you're right, the first step towards doing that is by asking them their opinion. What do you think's going on? What do you think? I think that's like incredibly empowering, where we don't like to admit it, but we're our kids, the most important person in our kids' lives. And when that person stops and takes the time to read to a kid and then says, I want to know what you think. And then remembers that when you ask a kid what they think, it's never wrong. Might not be what you want to think, but it's never wrong. It's because you ask their opinion. I think that's just incredibly empowering.
Yeah, I agree. And I love your point that it's never wrong. And in the book, The Boy and His Brightly Colored Blocks, when you do leave space to allow a child to express their emotions, and they're in those tricky periods of life, whether it's they're a toddler, they're that 7, 8-year-old, those are tricky years too, preteen, teenage, even into later adolescence or early 20s. I mean, these can be really tricky times, and we're learning how to express our emotions. We're learning how to communicate. We're learning how to be in relationship with one another. And if we give a child an opportunity to express their emotion, and we reflect back to them that they are bad because they express their emotions, we're not really allowing them, we're not telling them you get to show up as your full, vulnerable self. right? And while in that moment, we may be stuck in this idea, and I think, kind of 80s, 90s parenting really did instill this idea of, I'm training my kid to be the model citizen, and if they do anything that's not the model citizen behavior, I need to squash that because that's my job as a parent, right? But I think when we do that, when we squash and we tell our kids that their experience, their opinions, their responses are bad, that just means they're not going to stop feeling those things or thinking they're things. They're going to stop telling us how they feel, what they think. And that can lead to some really destructive choices and behaviors. So instead, if we can do our very best and give ourselves heaping doses of grace for the times we mess up, allow ourselves to show up outside of judgment and say, okay, I'm here to hear what you think about this, how you feel about this, and lean into that rather than react to it and want to judge and want to squash it. And many of us have this habit that was passed along to us. It's almost like a gift from, our early life experiences of parenting or school or what have you, our family structure. And we have to get really intentional if we want to change that approach about regulating our own nervous system, our own responses, so that we can model that for our children, so that it's going to be closer to second nature for them to show up authentically, vulnerably, and regulated even when they are upset, even when they don't agree with something someone told them. You've shown them that it's okay that someone doesn't agree with you. That's okay. That doesn't change my emotional weather.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got a lot of adults who need to learn that lesson these days.
Yeah, we do. We do. And the thing is, we parent the way often we were parented. We parent to our degree of emotional healing often. And I'm a life coach, and I call it the trigger detector. If you're parenting and you feel this pressure point, this trigger go off in certain situations every time, it's really easy to try to put that on the person that you're relating to. They're making me feel this way. But the thing is, the button is yours. So looking into why do I have that button is really important. And once we start doing that healing, that's when we can start modeling something different for our children so that they don't have as many buttons to push, and we can gift that to them. But it starts really with us, like everything else in life.
So let's talk a little bit deeper about the boy and his brightly colored blocks. Who are we going to meet in this book?
So we are going to meet a little boy who does have a lot of buttons. He gets triggered pretty easily. So the boy is a 4-year-old boy who loves his brightly colored blocks, and he really dislikes anything that takes him away from them. We don't discuss it intentionally. I don't talk about him having PDA or pathological demand avoidance in the book itself. On the back, in the description of the book, I do mention PDA awareness and hashtag let them play as a conversation starter. But this little boy does have pathological demand avoidance, which means when we look at that, it's all in the phrasing, it's all in the name. Pathological, so to a degree that it's disruptive, demand avoidance. So if there's something outside of him being asked of him, an expectation externally, he's going to try to avoid that. And so that can look differently for different kids. We understand more and more about PDA, and we recognize it now often in children who have autism. Also, we see it in children who don't have autism, and it can manifest differently. It can look like the child who literally will not sit at the table no matter how nicely you ask them at dinner. They won't, because that demand to sit at the table is really triggering for them. They feel a loss of control. It can look like the tantrum in the store that we see when a child is trying to regain that control back that they feel they've lost. Or it can be something bigger, like even something like physical aggression, biting, kicking, right? It can be a spectrum of behaviors. And so this little boy is going about his regular day, and because he does have a outsized response to external demands, we get to go along with him as he is learning how to navigate those demands. And we get to see through his mother, who has learned through her relationship with her child, with her son, how to better help him navigate those demands, how to turn demands into choices, because she recognizes in him, he's not a bad kid. She recognizes in herself, she's not a bad mom because he has these behaviors. What she has identified in him is that when something is asked of him, he feels out of control. And that manifests in the boy often as anger and frustration. And what she does when she starts to see that response is she remembers, okay, it's not that my child is being bad, right? It's not that this is a bad emotion. He feels out of control. And so she models throughout the book opportunities for her child to take over control of his life and make choices.
You mean to tell me that mom shouldn't just say, put your butt in the chair because I said so?
Well, that's the interesting thing. We talked about this earlier in our discussion, and I think it is a knee-jerk response, not to be a nerdy neurologist with you and talk about our patellar reflex, but it is a knee-jerk response to someone not following our command for us to fall into that counter control. Because I said so. Oh, you're not going to do what I said? Oh, well, now we've got a real problem because I'm the parent. I need to win. I need to make sure you know who's the boss here. We need to keep our children safe. We need to help them navigate their day. There are things that we simply need to do. And that is something that the mom really does well in the book is he has a sister. She's at school. They have to go get sister. You know, it's not an option to not get sister because we don't want to. It's not an option to not take that bath a few times a week. We have to do that. But she finds opportunities to work with him to make him feel that he's in control. And when she does that, it helps him transition out of basically the entryway to fight or flight when we're feeling out of control, that we don't have control over our body, over our own destiny. That can send these children with PDA into fight or flight. They literally feel that they're at risk. She helps pivot him and his focus from, oh, you know, I know you don't want to wear that outfit because it's itchy. Hold up 2 shirts. Which one would you like? She's still choosing the shirts. She bought all the clothes, right? She's in control over all of the situation, but she is making it feel to the child that he has autonomy, and that makes all the difference for how he feels so that he can go back into regulation and go about his day and get back to the thing that he really wants to do, which is playing with his blocks.
So in the shower example, might that parent say, okay, it's time. Do you want to take a shower with your rubber ducky, or do you want to take it with the squeeze dog?
Exactly. That's what the mom does. So I love that you give this example, because allowing your child to basically bring a buddy, bring their toys in with them, is such a great tool, and one that we often we get so triggered and stuck in these control dynamics with our kids, especially, that we forget that we have all these awesome tools. We bought the toys, right? Or we know the song that they like. You know, I make up songs for my kids to help them brush their teeth, right? And that not only makes sure that we have enough time brushing our teeth, but they smile when they hear the song because it triggers this memory in them. They didn't want to brush their teeth, but now their body knows, their body knows what it's supposed to do. So it makes it easier to offer the song and then get the task done. It's the same with taking the bath. What the mom does is she says to him, because he's playing with his toys, that's a theme of his everyday, is any moment he can, he's playing with his brightly colored blocks. And she asks him, because she sees, it's time for our bath, and she knows what's coming next. She avoids the dysregulation and says, Do you want to take them with you? So basically, do you want to take them with you or do you want to leave them there? So now he's focused on, I have a really important choice to make. And in the book, and I'm so grateful to Katerina Valerieva. She is the Ukrainian artist who did such a beautiful job bringing this book to life and using such vivid colors. I love how she illustrated this bath scene of him contemplating on, do I bring my blocks or do I not? It's no longer about, I don't want to take a bath. It's, really serious decision, because with the bath, I know I want bubbles. And when there are bubbles, we can lose the toys under the water layer, water level, or they could go down the drain. And that is, that's the worst thing imaginable because it's gone, right? If we lost a minifigure, a block person to the drain, that would be, one, devastating for mom because she's got a big plumbing bill coming her way. He doesn't care about that. He wants his toy. So I love the example of using the toys as tools. They're using it as ways to, interact with you and get their emotions out and their creativity. And you can do the same. You can use the toys in your life as opportunities to connect with your child in these moments where, dysregulation or being upset and frustrated is knocking on the door. How can we use a happy distraction to help them navigate that?
You were mentioning earlier that books, reading children's books, can trigger something in us. And I think reading The Boy with His Brightly Colored Blocks would hopefully be a great way to help parents become more intentional and just, thinking about, okay, I don't want the PDA. Public display of affection, that's okay, but this logical thing, I don't want that. And I think there are a lot of kids that are experiencing this. And obviously, from what we're learning is it's not that the kid is bad or a brat or whatever. It's this other kind of pathology going on. And if we can make our kids' lives and our lives much easier by just saying, instead of it's bath time, get your butt in the bathtub, it's, hey, do you want to take your duck or you want to take your dog? And now it's the kid's choice. The kid's empowered. Okay, we get in the bathtub with the duck. Cool.
Yeah, we love to feel empowered. When we feel a lack of autonomy, it's so high on the hierarchy of needs that it's hard for us to function. It puts us into this state of fear and fight or flight to not have that personal freedom. And it's the same for our kids. So us getting really intentional is really important. And you made me think of, I had the opportunity recently to meet David Newell. And he was Mr. McFeely on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He's the speedy delivery man. And he's such an advocate for children's literature and for positive parenting. He really is a truly, they say, shining stars on their book cast reviews that they do. And he really is such a shining star of maintaining that Fred Rogers legacy of the importance of intentional parenting, of healing and emotional regulation, starting here, starting at home, which is in us, and gifting that to our children. And what he said when he reviewed the book, he was talking about exactly what you said. There's so many opportunities in the book to just see how the mom responds to what a lot of people would say is categorically bad behavior. And she's just calm. She just responds in a calm manner and she moves along. And I try to focus on this message of connecting rather than correcting. Oh, you didn't like when I put your water bottle on your Block Kingdom table? Easy peasy. Pat on the head. Sorry, I'll move it over here. That's your table. You have control over that. And I know it's important to everyone that they have a space that's their own, that they have choice, that they have autonomy. These are my blocks, he says in the book. I get to decide what happens to them. Not Sissy, not mom, not the dog, except for sometimes it eats them, right, which he really doesn't like. They're under his control, and we don't really have that many times we can gift children control and allow them to learn how to exercise that autonomy, right? Like sometimes on Halloween, your kid has to eat too much candy and get a tummy ache. They have to have that experience, and then they're not going to do it again because that really didn't feel good, right? Like we do have to allow our children within the safety margins to make choices. And so what David Newell commented on, not only seeing in real time how parents could, mental note, we didn't freak out about that. I don't have to take it upon myself to have a big reaction to every little thing that happens. I can just move, I can just move the thing off the table and not react and show that there's a different way to handle that. And one thing that he commented several times in our conversation was he felt that conversations and books like these might be helpful for parents who maybe came up from a home where child abuse happened, where maybe there was physical abuse or verbal abuse, to help model a different way of responding to negative stimuli, to what we used to think of as bad behavior. That's really just someone expressing the full rainbow of emotions that we all have as people. And they're feeling vulnerable and safe to do so, which I would say as a parent, wow, good job. Your child feels vulnerable and safe that they can share that with you. So I really appreciated him bringing that to the forefront to say, this could be a tool for emotional regulation, not only for children, but also for parents, because we can't know what we were never taught, what was never modeled to us. And so I do really hope that listeners will read the book and share with me their experience with their children, the experience they had within themselves, because the idea really is to model something different than maybe you've seen before in response to a child. Because I can tell you, with my youngest, who had really big emotional responses, sometimes we'd be out in public and there'd be a big emotional response to something that really wasn't a big deal, quote unquote, to someone else. And as a parent, people are looking at you. They're judging you. They may even be commenting, right? They may be trying to intervene in ways that because you know your child, maybe won't help and maybe will actually escalate the situation, right? That's not what you need in that moment. And so it's really important, if you've never been modeled emotional regulation and you find yourself with your first child, or maybe with your first child that is setting off these triggers, that is challenging you in this way with these big emotions, to have an opportunity to see a story with emotional regulation being modeled and try it out in your household. Try it out and see what it leads to, right? If I don't basically respond to every bid for negativity, and if I actually respond with connectivity and leaning into what's the need that you need met right now, what does that lead to? And I'm going to wager a bet it's going to lead to a much happier environment in the home. And you will get really, really excited and kind of addicted to this process and be like, oh, wow, what's the next thing that I cannot react to and I can instead respond to? And I can ask a question instead of basically stating a correction to the behavior or what they're doing. And so I'm really grateful for the feedback on the book. And I'm really excited to hear from other people the experience they have as a family with it.
I'm imagining that a lot of, and this is just guessing, but I'm imagining a lot of parents who are reacting to their child who feels out of control and doesn't have any power, maybe at a job where they feel like they don't have any control or any power, and and the last thing they want to do is this kid that comes on and telling me what to do after I had to listen to some boss at work all day long. And I think instead of reacting to it, be the person you'd like your boss to be, which is to give me choices, give me some autonomy.
Exactly. There's this whole saying that I heard growing up, the whole kick the dog saying, go home and kick the dog after you were kicked at work type thing. And you don't want to be the person that takes out your frustrations on your kid. But again, if that's what was modeled to you, it's going to take some intention to change those pathways, change the ways you react. And so often we need a stimulus to change a habit, to change our behavioral patterns. And so I'm really happy to be able to share this story. It really is a passion project for me. And I have to share, this wasn't written in the messy middle, what I call that time where you're figuring things out, you're in the thick of it, you're just learning about dealing with a child with PDA or your child with autism or your child who's going through depression or anxiety, big stressors at school or at home. You don't write this book when you're going through that. You learn these lessons. And for me, when I learn these lessons, I feel very compelled to share them. And for me, I sat down one day and I wrote this book because I wanted to share this. And I also wanted to share the experience I had as a parent of when you stop engaging in the power struggles and you start connecting with your kid. Not only do you start to see the need behind the behavior, but it allows you to see your child and the situation from a more third-person perspective. We've all been at the grocery store and have seen a child absolutely dysregulated over wanting candy or wanting the, toy or whatever. And sometimes it's actually kind of funny because the kid is being actually kind of funny and they're actually kind of sweet and you can tell they just, they really want it and they don't understand and they're working it from every angle. And as someone who doesn't have any skin in the game, you can actually see the beauty and the humanity and the humor in it, right? There are always times we see that in watching shows like Our Family Loves Young Sheldon, and young Sheldon drives the people in his lives crazy, but we sign up to watch this show because we absolutely love him. We love his behavior. We think he's awesome. And so it allows you, when you stop trying to correct your child and kind of label things as good or bad, and instead try to connect with them and just be present in their life and try to understand how they're experiencing things, you start to see the humor, the sweetness. You start to see, okay, where did the misunderstanding happen, right? All these opportunities for connecting in really deep ways that if we're stuck in that correction, counter control, we're not going to have those experiences. And at the end of the day, we're not really going to know one another in the way that we want to. So I love using the story this way. And because that was a goal, the boy is very funny. He's very funny. And when I read it to children, both children the age of the boy and also children that are more the older sibling age, they just laugh and they just think it's so funny. Either they see themselves in the boy or they see their friend that's always getting in trouble at school or their sibling that's always getting in trouble at home. And you see them having a new perspective again, because when it's their friend, they're like, oh, dude, could you stop getting in trouble at school? You're making us miss recess. I want to play ball with you. And you've got to sit on the corner, right? They're mad at their friend. But when they see the boy just as a human having this experience, his own internal struggles for control, it allows them to see him fully as a human and give them that empathy so that the next time they see their sibling having that human moment, they can just say, whoa, you're having a tough human moment. How can we help you through this? Or next time their friend is having that moment at school, it's not that they're a bad friend or a bad kid. They're having a tough moment. How can we help you through it?
You made me just remember a trip my beautiful wife and I went to lovely country of Panama. And on the way home, we had a change planes in Miami. And it was one of those nightmare flights where our gate was changed 5 or 6 times, and it went from gate 2 to gate 78, back to gate 3. And we noticed that there was a mom with a 3-year-old and an infant and a bunch of luggage by herself. And, of course, the 3-year-old is getting progressively worse, and people were trying to come over and, oh, sit down here, come on over. And finally, I just got up after the second gate change, and I said, would you like to look at some pictures with me? And I opened up my phone, the pictures, and he's like, yeah. Hey, why don't we, I have to go down. I would like to see someone. Come on, we'll walk together and we'll look at these pictures. And chilled out. He was great. And we got on a plane at midnight 5 hours later.
Sweet kiddo. Oh, and you were so kind. No, I mean, he was bored. And boredom when you're a kid feels close to dying. It's horrible. You know, when we're adults, when we're bored, it's when we have these beautiful ideas, and kids too. But it can feel really upsetting, especially for kids that are used to tablets and they're tired. It was past his bedtime, and you just gifted him an opportunity to shift his focus rather than focus on the fact that, oh, I don't like your behavior right now, because the behavior, as you noticed, was a communication of a need, and you helped to redirect him, and that's so beautiful. So what I do in airports is every time I travel, I bring 3 copies of my daughter's books, and now I'll start bringing, of course, the boy and his brightly colored blocks. And it's my favorite thing to do to gift them to children that I meet along the way. And so usually a young child, usually around, 3, 4, 5, they might be bored or tired. One time there was a child who was transitioning across the country from one parent's house to another parent's house, like stressful, really stressful time. So I really try to keep my eyes out for the kid that needs to feel special and seen and to have a special treat that day. So I always do that. And it's one of my favorite things to do in airports. I don't think I'll ever stop because it's too much fun.
We should tell everybody where they can go to find out more about the boy and his brightly colored blocks, find out more about your podcast, your coaching, your daughter's books, everything.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So my website is drschaferstedron.com, and in the shop you can get my books. You can get my book, The Boy and His Brightly Colored Blocks, that just came out this week. You can also get it on Amazon as an ebook. The physical copies are all in my store. And you can also get my adult-focused book, which is Jim Britt's Cracking the Rich Code there. So we've got those in the shop. And the great thing about the website, too, is it gives you links to everything, the podcast, other places that I guest, things about, speaking engagements, how you can bring me to your school, your library, your event, your bookstore. I'm really passionate. As you can tell, I've spoken everyone's ears off during this time with you. I'm really passionate about the story and about emotional regulation and gifting the modeling of this so that we can have maybe insights to a way of parenting that maybe we haven't seen before, we haven't thought about. So if you can bring me to your community and share that story with your kids, with your school, I would absolutely love to be a part of that. So go to the website, contact me there. I would be thrilled to do that. And Talks with Dr. Shafer is on every major platform. So if you want to listen into the podcast, I would love to have you join the conversation there too.
I'm guessing we can't get you to come over and help our kids get in the tub for shower night.
No, but I think you know how to do it. I think that we've given some great ideas here. And you know what? Go on social media. I'm on everything except for X. So anything else, you can find me on social media and you can comment there, share your skills, right? Share, I found this thing that works so well with my kiddo, because there's going to be another parent that tries it out and it's going to be gold for them and they just haven't thought about it before. So absolutely, we need to form communities. We've lost so much of our community, I think, in our modern way of living. So podcasting, social media, it can be less good, but just kind of like that rainbow of emotions we talked about, there are good things, gifts we can take from it, and forming healthy communities where we can help one another with things like parenting and managing our emotions and self-development. That's a good thing.
We've had a great time celebrating everything, actually, but we're mainly celebrating The Boy and His Brightly Colored Blocks. It's a brand new picture book from our guest, Dr. Schafer Stedron. Dr. Shafer, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure.
My friends, if you have ever thought about owning a business that's fun, rewarding, and makes a valuable contribution to kids' education, well, Brooklyn Robot Foundry is calling your name. I recently met Ginny Young. She's the founder of Brooklyn Robot Foundry. And let me tell you, she is incredible. Her passion for getting kids excited about STEAM, that's STEM plus art, it's contagious. I'm telling you. This isn't your average kids program. Brooklyn Robot Foundry is all about hands-on, screen-free STEAM fun. These kids get to build a different robot each class and take it home with them afterwards. Kids love it. Parents are raving about it. And now you can own a franchise and bring this incredible experience to families in your community. Now, this isn't your typical franchise. Brooklyn Robot Foundry is a mobile, flexible business with a deep curriculum that's making a real impact in schools and communities around the country. Franchise owners get a proven curriculum, full training, and support from a passionate team. So what are you waiting for? Please visit bit.ly/RobotJed. That's bit.ly/RobotJed. And let them know you heard about it on Reading with Your Kids. Join us right now from the fantastic state of Michigan. We have a fantastic author for you tonight. She is the author of Foxtails and Foxtails 2. Please welcome to the show, Amalie Anastasia. Amalie, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I am wonderful. Those of you listening to the show might be thinking to yourself, wow, she sounds kind of young. And she kind of is. Amalie, how old are you?
I've recently turned 10 years old.
Congratulations. You know, I have socks that are older than you.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. And shoes and sneakers and jeans but none of them are talented enough to write their own book like you. So tell me all about who we're going to meet in the Foxtails books.
Okay. So in Foxtails 1, you first meet Naya and Hazel, the two main characters who are just kids, and they both kind of need help, and they realize that they can help each other and kind of get even, and then but they think they're going to just separate eventually. They're going to help each other, and that's going to be it. And so they meet, and then Naya needs to find her dad. So they go to this place, and they find a female kid a little older than them, and she tells them where they can meet her dad, and they find her dad, and the dad is not sure about Hazel. But Naya explains to him that he's a good guy, he helped her, and so her dad is like, yay, you helped my daughter, yay, let's be friends. But then they realize that Hazel still needs to find his mom. So they're going about, and they finally find his mom, and then you're introduced to Hazel's mom character. And then when they get there, there's a bunch of new kids because while Hazel was gone, his mother had kids. And so now there are like all these like probably 12 kids in the litter, and so now there's a bunch of new characters that and their names hadn't been released yet. But then yeah.
Wow, that sounds exciting. A story about friendship and people coming together to help each other and becoming friends. What inspired this story?
Well, actually, when I was being homeschooled in first and second grade, there was a vixen. Is it a vixen? There was a vixen that had kits next to our house, and it was just this beautiful orange, like, fiery fox. And when she had kits, I just realized I had to expose the true reality to the world.
So tell me, made you think at 9 years old? Because I meet so many adults who tell me, oh, I want to write a kid's books, but I'm not good enough, and I can't do that, and they find excuse after excuse to put it off. Here you are, you're 9, you're 10 now, but you were 9 years old when you wrote the book, and you got it into your head that I can write a book. Where did that confidence come from?
Well, actually, I was actually 8 years old when I first.
Even more of a genius.
Thank you. But I guess I just wanted to do it because having the power to show people what kind of inspiration you can open to the world, that's a big power. And I wanted to inspire other kids to write books. So I wanted to put it out there. You can write a book. All you need is confidence and time. So, yeah.
Yeah. Now, Foxtails 2, is this a continuation of Naya and Hazel's friendship?
Yes. Well, it focuses more on Naya and Hazel's little sister Fern. Oh, I forgot to mention one of the main characters in Foxtails 1, Snickerdoodle.
Snickerdoodle.
He's a golden retriever.
All
and
right.
they come to a human house and meet him. So he's like a puppy. He's crazy.
Crazy.
But yeah.
So I understand that in addition to being a great student, a fantastic author, somebody with a really bright and beautiful smile, that you're also a very generous person. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I've been donating ever since I was 5, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Was it 5? I made my first donation of $5 to the Little Traverse Bay Humane Society. I was at Bear Cub, I think, and my mom had given me $5 to spend on something. But I couldn't really find something I wanted. So, instead of buying something, I put it in the donation box. And ever since, I've wanted to help nature, help animals, and actually, we're having a fundraiser right now to get a nature preserve.
Wow. Now I live in the city of Boston, but I live as far away from downtown Boston as you can get and still be within the city of Boston. In fact, my yard, it's the city line. And on the other side of my yard, on the other side of the fence, is a wildlife preserve.
Really?
Yeah, it's really cool. It's mostly birds, but we also have coyotes and deer, and the most deadly creature in nature, wild turkeys. They are vicious and they attack people on the sidewalk. But so where is this nature preserve that you're trying to raise money for? Where is it going to be?
We haven't decided it yet,
Okay,
but I'll tell you one thing. Shout out to my stepsister Meaty, who helped me name it. We're thinking of naming it the Happy Place.
The Happy Place. And what kind of animals do you hope live in the wildlife sanctuary?
Well, I'm thinking more like birds, foxes, wolves, like more of deep forest theme. Like those animals I feel like need help the most because right now, unfortunately, a lot of poaching, gunning, many more things are happening all over the world, and it's really disturbing our natural ecosystems. So I'm hoping I could help save that by creating a preserve.
I have to ask you, I've met many amazing young people, but, a lot of young people at 9, 10, 11 years old, they're thinking about cartoons and video games and thinking about, when is the next time they can sneak into their bedroom to get on TikTok which their mother doesn't know that they're on. But you are here and you're thinking about nature and you're thinking about others. Where does that sense of caring for the world come from, do you think?
think I get it from my mom.
Really?
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So she's a life coach, a doctor, an author, a lot of more things actually. But she creates these really inspiring videos.
Oh.
And I've just always wanted to be like her.
And where can we see these inspiring videos?
Her website is Talks with Dr. Shafer. It's a really cool website.
Awesome. Tell me, Amalie, where can we go to find out more about Foxtails, Foxtails 2, and you?
So, you can go to my website, www.amalieanastasia.com. That's where the fundraiser is held. You can donate any amount of money.
We've had a great time speaking to a really fantastic young woman. Her name is Amalie Anastasia, and she is the author of Foxtails and Foxtails 2. Amalie, thank you so much for being with us.
You're welcome. It was an honor being on.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids, and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. In the meantime, please connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram, and at JedLeeMagic on Twitter. We have a great YouTube channel, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids, and our website is readingwithyourkids.com. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our guest, Dr. Schafer Stedron. Please be sure to check out the boy in his brightly colored blocks. Also want to thank Dr. Schafer's daughter, Amalie Anastasia. Be sure to check out Foxtails 1 and 2. I want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty, Rory Grady, Stella Sheree. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place. And you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you for the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.